So today we're doing the top lane tier list for high elo only. If you are a diamond or if you are below diamond, this isn't for you, basically, because it is going to be focusing on champions that are heavily mechanically inclined or skilled, I mean. And yeah, so basically, if you're high elo, watch this. If you want to learn top lane, if not, if you're like silver, then click off now. And now that I've got that out of the way, let's get started. So Atrax, he's quite okay now. He is not as good as he was in previous patches when Gore Drinker was broken. Um, he's definitely still A tier. He's very viable. He's very good. He's very good still. If you are a good Atrax, you can very make this champion work. Ari belongs in the griefing category. Akali as well. Um, she's much better mid, but if you were to lock in Akali top, it would probably be around B to C tier. Alistar griefing, Amumu griefing, griefing. Actually, Amumu is could be usable. Because Amumu's E, every time he gets hit by something, he loses he loses a cooldown on his E, and if he stands in minions, it also reduces the damage. So if Amumu is standing in a minion wave, he spams E's and he will beat you. Camille, S tier, game-ruiningly broken. I don't even need to explain. Cassiopeia is okay. She will lose to all the champions that will be up here. Probably B tier. Cho'Gath, above Atrax, I think. He's very good. The nerfs that they gave him didn't really do anything. They hurt a little bit, but still beyond viable. Darius, this is what's confusing is because a lot of people say Darius is extremely overpowered and needs a nerf very badly. But what a lot of people don't realize is that Darius has been nerfed like 3 times in a row before the jungle change. So he's definitely still playable. He's not bad, but he's not very good. Atrax is definitely better, but he's still good. Like he can beat Cassiopeia, he can beat Akali, but Atrax and Cho'Gath are just gonna be better. Dr. Mundo, he got the buffs and he's being nerfed next patch, but I don't think it's a justifiable nerf because anyone with a brain will absolutely annihilate him. So I think it's for low elo only. But pretty much Dr. Mundo is one of the worst champions you can play. All these, I don't know why these are in here. I wanted Gwen in the tier list, but every single champion is in here. Fiora, another game-ruiningly broken one. So, Fiora basically has zero counterplay. She has a very short cooldown dash. She can block any one of your spells. So she can dash out of all of your spells, and even if she makes a mistake and gets hit by one, she will reflect it back onto you and possibly stun you. She will slow your attack speed. She has a guaranteed crit. She has her percent health true damage. This champion is really overstat at the moment, and I don't think anyone cares. Or at least, I don't think, not that anyone cares. I think a lot of people care and hate Fiora, but I don't think Riot cares. I mean, Fizz, D tier. When you think of top lane or Fizz in general, you don't really think of him as a top lane, but if you take press the attack and on-hit items at max W, he can actually be quite viable. But there's a much better option other than Fizz. And I forgot to mention, Diana is also playable top lane, but she's not very good, so she's in here with the Mumu. Galio is bad. Gangplank is up in here. Gangplank is another really broken champion that I don't think gets the recognition he deserves. Because the thing with old Pantheon pre-rework is he would just spam Q off cooldown to auto-win the lane, and then use his global ultimate to win the rest of the map. And that was unhealthy and very toxic, and it was very hard to balance. So they reworked him completely. But it's weird because Gangplank does the exact same thing. He spams Q off cooldown to auto-win lane, and then he wins the rest of the map with his global ultimate. Which is quite strange, because Pantheon got reworked for doing the exact same thing. But Gangplank is super broken, because not only does he spam Q to auto-win lane, he also outscales nearly every single top lane champion. There's only like 2 champions that will outscale Gangplank, and that's like Camille and Jax, really, that will outscale Gangplank. Garen, B tier. Garen is okay. He's viable. He's playable. He's he's getting nerfed next patch, which is patch 11.9. But I don't think it's a very justifiable nerf because out of all the champions that I have problems with, that I say this needs to be nerfed, Garen is all the way at the bottom of the list. I never play against Garen and say this champion is too strong. But Gnar, on the other hand, Gnar all the way up here in S tier as well. He got hammered with buffs over and over. Buff, 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 buff. And then the nerf they gave him was absolutely, it did nothing whatsoever. He lost like a bit. He lost like 10 on hit damage on his W and then 10% movement speed or something like that. It did absolutely nothing. He still is game ruiningly broken. He's very good. He's ranged, he has a slow, he has a dash, he has a move speed increase, he has an attack speed increase, he has on hit damage, he has percent health damage, he's tanky, he has AoE CC. This champion is just so overstat, it's insane, and I don't think anyone at Riot really gives a shit anymore. Gragas, he's okay. He was game ruining, but he's kind of fallen down and is being nerfed again in patch 11.9, which I don't really agree with whatsoever, because the mana cost change that they did to his Q really kind of threw him out of the lane. Hecarim top. I used to main Hecarim top, but then shit happened. He became perma-banned in the jungle, so I could never play him. And now that he's not really perma-banned in the jungle, which he still kind of is, he's terrible in the top lane. Like, his win rate is like 40% or something, and he's being nerfed again. So I would say, if you are one of the small percentages of Hecarim top players, just play something else. He's not good anymore. Heimerdinger, B tier. He does a lot of damage, he's very annoying, but he is so squishy, you will kill him in like one combo. So, yeah. Alawi. Alawi sucks. I don't even dodge one spell. Whole champion's useless. Irelia up here. Game ruiningly broken. Imagine Darius, but he could stack his hemorrhage on minions, and he had a 2-second cooldown dash, and that's Irelia. So basically, anytime Irelia has a minion wave, you have to completely give up entire control, or she will just kill you from full HP. Jax. Jax is okay. He's not very good. He's not very good, mainly because he has so many counter picks. Garen is one of them. Even though Garen isn't very good, in general, he still beats Jax, because his spin will outdamage him completely. So, the Garen nerf, depending on what it is, we don't know what it is, we just know he's being nerfed, might bring a popularity in Jax back. Because a lot of the time you play Jax, they pick Garen or Malphite or something similar. But if Garen gets nerfed, there goes one of the main counter picks down the drain. So I think he's going to be much better next patch. Jace belongs in S tier. You may hate me for putting Jace in here, because Jace has been known to not be very good, but in the hands of a skilled player, Jace will dominate. Jace will dominate the lane, Jace will dominate you, Jace will dominate the game. His combos are very hard to pull off, but if you do, well, I shouldn't say very hard. They are quite difficult to pull off, but if you do, then you will have huge, huge success. And yeah, basically Jace. Karma top. Karma is here. Karma, the thing with Karma is her base damage is way too high. So, like, I'll be playing, like, I'll be playing Darius or something, and I'll be just sitting there, and all of a sudden, a Karma top that has Moonstone Renewer will press RQ and do a quarter of my health. And that would be different, because if she had Illudins, I would say, yeah, okay, boom, a quarter of my health. But for her to have Moonstone Renewer and do a quarter of my health with RQ, I think there's something wrong there. Karthus. Very strange. Karthus top is actually quite decent, because not a lot of top lane champions will kill Karthus, basically. So if you are against an immobile champion that does low damage, like something like Maokai, Karthus will have a blast up top. And anything similar to Maokai, like pretty much any tank, Karthus is really, really, really good against. So he's a very situational pick, but if you have a right game for him, he will do very, very well. So Kayle is, I would say, A tier, honestly. Because the thing with Kayle is, pre-level 6, she is absolutely unplayable. But the moment she gets to level 6, she actually becomes a lane bully. Because the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that every ranged champion will bully every melee, unless they have a gap close item, such as Stride Breaker, or a gap close in their kit, such as Camille. But basically, if you are against... Well, not really if you are against, but basically, once you hit level 6, until, like, first item, you are a lane bully as Kayle. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, because that short amount of time where the late game scaler is dominating lane, you can do a lot. You can do a lot with Kayle during that time and get a huge lead during that time. So that way, when they do finish their Stride Breaker or whatever they have, you can still fight them, you can get away, you can do whatever you want because of that lead that you got. Kennen, B tier. He's okay. There are much better ranged top picks, such as Quinn or Kayle, like we just talked about. Kennen is okay. There's not really much to say about Kennen, other than his ult is good, and that's about it. Kled is A tier. Kled is kind of hard to understand at first, because I feel like the thing with Kled is you have to realize how retarded your champion is until you are able to play him properly. Once you realize that Kled is game ruining, then you will beat everyone on Kled. Lucian, a pick that has been emerging very, very quickly. Very quickly, Lucian top has been becoming meta, and it is very, very good, because he sustains so much, and it's a cheese pick. It's like Gragas. It was like pre-nerf Gragas is Lee Sin. He has endless sustain, and he can trade into you, and you won't be able to trade back. Which was similar to Gragas's body slam into you, phase rush out. Any damage you do to him, he'll heal with his passive. That's pretty much Lee Sin, but instead he will QE full combo you, dash to a minion, and then heal the full off the wave because of the Omni Vamp on his W. And if he doesn't do that, a lot of the time, depending on the champion that Lee Sin is up against, he will just straight up auto attack you to death through your minion wave because of his passive double hit, which is very underestimated. Lucian, not very good anymore. Lucian has been kind of in the gutter in top lane because of a lot of stride breaker champions will just annihilate him. He's still good mid lane if you're a Lucian player that doesn't like playing bot lane. Go mid lane instead of top. He is much better. Lulu. Oh, I grabbed the wrong character. Lulu, S tier. This may sound strange, but Lulu is disgusting. Lulu is absolutely game ruining. Pair that with a Master Yi jungle, you won't lose a single game. I don't know why this champion is being buffed in 11.9, but get a duo, have him play Yi jungle, play Lulu top, you won't lose. Quote me on that. If you lose a game playing this, you can dislike this video. Malphite, not as good as he was, but he's still good. Still good. I wouldn't say he's A tier. I'd say I would put him here and move Kennen down. Yeah, that looks good. So Malphite, not as good as he was. A lot of the tank items got nerfed, and a lot of champions just are outperforming Malphite right now. I can't really explain Malphite's kit other than he beats auto attackers, and that's really all he does. Maokai has been sleeper lately. Like, sleeper OP, as in, he's not really OP, but he is performing much higher than I think a lot of people think he is. Maokai, he does a lot of damage with his saplings. The saplings' percent health damage is really high, and he heals a lot off of his passive. Wukong. Wukong S tier. Wukong does so much damage with so little items, it is absurd. Wukong is so broken right now. He is so mobile, he has so much base damage, he has so many ratios, he has so much attack speed, he has armor shred, he is just very, very, very good. If you want to win as many games as you can, I highly suggest you pick up Wukong. Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser, upper end of B tier. Much better than all of these champions. Not quite as good as these ones. So, Mordekaiser has been buffed quite a lot recently, with his Q isolation damage going up and up, and his E cooldown got reduced a little bit. But Mordekaiser is quite good right now. If you need AP top, I highly recommend Mordekaiser. It is very good for an AP top. Like I said, these options up here are better, but they're not really ability power based. Mordekaiser, I'd say, is the best AP you could get. Nasus. Nasus is okay if this was a low elo tier list, which this isn't. Any player with half a brain will have Nasus frozen, unable to farm with 2 CS at 10 minutes into the game. If you are high elo and looking to play Nasus, just play something else. You will save yourself a lot of pain. Nico, she's decent. She's a counter to something like Darius. Nocturne top, actually somewhat viable. C tier probably. He's a stat check champion. If he has better stats than you at that time, he's gonna win. If he doesn't, you'll kill him. That's pretty much how he goes. He just right-clicks you, and that's pretty much it. Olaf, another C tier. Same thing as Nocturne. He's just going to right-click at you. If he has better stats, he's going to win. But the problem is, early game, Olaf is really, really strong. Like, levels 1 through 6, Olaf will win pretty much every time. And yeah. Ornn is quite good. There's better tanks you can play, such as Cho'Gath and Malphite. And there's not really much to say other than they are better. Pantheon is bad. Pantheon got nerfed so hard. Do not play Pantheon top. If you want to play Pantheon, play mid lane. He is much better there. Poppy, same thing with Ornn. She's okay, but the other tanks, such as Cho'Gath, are just better in every way. They do more damage, they have more CC, they're tankier, they're better. Quinn. Quinn is A tier. Quinn is very, 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 very strong. She does so much damage. And the thing with Quinn is, like, when you go against a ranged champion, like, such as Teemo, which is, like, the classic ranged top, you want to take second wind against them because they're going to be poking you. The thing with Quinn is, Quinn isn't going to poke you. Quinn is going to do half your health with 2 spells. She's going to Q auto, E auto, and half your health is gone. So, you can't really do anything about Quinn. Renekton is B tier. Renekton was quite good when the season first started. He had his Gore Drinker, he had his Hydra. He was in a good spot. But then all of those items got nerfed, and then Renekton himself individually got nerfed like 4 times. Excuse me. So he's still playable. He's not very great. Yeah, he's still playable. Rengar, C tier. Rengar top can be quite annoying, but if you're playing the right champion, he's not going to be a problem. And late game, he doesn't really do anything, because if he goes for an assassin build, you're just going to kill him over and over. If he goes for a tank build, then he's going to be useless late game. So Rengar isn't really that big of a problem. Riven, another S tier. Riven is, I don't even have to explain it, but I'm going to anyways. Riven is so game ruining, locking in the champion should honestly be considered cheating and you should be banned. The champion is way too strong, she does way too much damage, she is way too mobile, she is way too tanky. Her E is on way too low of a cooldown for the amount of shield it gives, and that's pretty much it. Rumble, even after the changes, absolutely terrible. I'd say the changes made him worse. Do not play Rumble. Play Rumble mid. Rise, same thing. Rise top sucks. Play Rise mid. Senna. Senna's weird. Senna is actually quite good top lane. Senna is very strong top lane. If you have Grasp of the Undying and Frostfire Gauntlet, it sounds troll. Trust me, give it a try. It'll have huge success if against immobile champions, such as Set, Ornn, Poppy, Maokai. Set, speaking of Set, Set sucks at the moment. Set is beyond terrible. Set is nowhere near his former glory. Set is actually going to be buffed in 11.9, which I am really looking forward to. Maybe he will actually be playable. So, yeah. Shaco, this is just griefing. It's not actually griefing. It's still good into certain champions. Like two champions, over half the roster just completely annihilates him. Shen, very good. I wouldn't say that good, but very good. He does a lot of damage for a utility champion. with his Q percent health. He has a good taunt for team fighting, and his R, which is his bread and butter, is very good for helping out your team as a utility champion he is. Singed, he's still playable, but don't play him. There is a much better option. Sion. Ooh, this is hard. I would say Sion is on par with Cho'Gath. Basically, Sion and Cho'Gath are the two best tanks right now. If you want to play a tank, play one of those two. They do so much damage, and they have infinite health scaling. Swain. Swain is very good for what he is. For a mage top, he is the second best option you could pick other than Mordekaiser. Because he's ranged, but he is very, very squishy without his ultimate. If Swain does not have ultimate, you will be killed. Or he will be killed, I'm sorry. He will be killed every single time. So basically, if he presses R, run away, wait for it to run out, kill him. But if the Swain player plays well and just pokes and doesn't R until it will kill, he can be quite good. Silas is very good right now. He is quite good. There are better options. The buffs really made him better, but there's still better choices. His W healing is still really good. It actually got better, but still, just take Ignite and you will beat him pretty much every time. Tahm Kench is C tier, along with Set. Both of these champions, both of these champions are really just bad. They don't have any form of mobility at all whatsoever. They just stand there and click at you, and that's pretty much it. And even half the time, they will lose the fight. Like, they're stat checks that get outstat by everyone, basically. Talon top is playable. Talon top is actually quite good if you have like a Galio middle and you don't really want to be tanky and you need damage, you can play Talon top. He does fairly well with Conqueror. If you max Q, you will beat almost every melee champion, and he's very good in top lane with Q max. Teemo is C tier. He's worse than Ken and Lucian. He still is a lane bully, and he's ranged, so he will still beat melees if the pilot isn't retarded. That's basically it. Tryndamere is quite good. Even Nemesis is playing Tryndamere right now, so Tryndamere is very good. Stat check, outstats everyone. Pick him up. Even in high ELO, where he's not very known, he is still very good, and yeah. Urgot was very strong. Urgot was S tier, but the change to Titanic Hydra and the nerf on his W kind of hurt him a bit. He is still very good, but he is not as good as he was. He's a level 1 cheeser. His level 1 with E star is very strong, but then you're kind of useless until level 9, and then you're able to play the game again. Viktor kind of died out after the changes a bit, but well, I mean, with the Iceborne Gauntlet build, I'm sorry. The Iceborne Gauntlet build on Viktor used to be very good, but that no longer exists. But there is a new build now with the way Tyr interacts with him is Viktor will proc Tyr insanely fast. So you get to go this like mana You get to go like this Cassidon style build on him, where you take Everfrost first item into the Seraph's Embrace, into Frozen Heart Demonic Embrace. It is a very good strategy. I highly recommend you try it. He stacks tiers so fast. And obviously, all those items give him mana and make him tanky. So he's getting a lot of ability power from the Seraphs, and he is tanky. So he does a lot of damage while still being tanky. Vitop is kind of dead. It's still playable. I'd put it with Singed. She's not very good, but if you are a Vi main, you can still make her work. But you're better off playing something else. Vladimir, very good. He just got insanely buffed recently, but still, Vladimir mid is so much better than top. Vladimir top is still good, but if you were to play Vladimir, I highly recommend you play middle instead. Volibear is the same thing with Vladimir. Volibear is decent top, but is much better in jungle, so I recommend if you want to play Volibear, play jungle instead. Warwick, a cheese pick. Warwick was a cheese pick at the start of the season. He still is, but he was very popular at the start of the season with Barrier, with Divine Sunderer. He would heal, like, he would just keep healing, and then you'd think you're gonna kill him, and then he'd press Barrier, and then he'd heal half his health, and then he'd kill you instead. Yasuo, C tier. It's playable. It's not the best, but you can do it. If you're a mid lane autofilled, you can play it. Yorick was broken like a couple patches ago, but he's not very good anymore. I actually would put him down here with Yasuo. He got quite heavily nerfed. You can still play him though and do just fine, but there are much better options. Zac Top, the W on hit buffs made him, I would say, A tier. The W percent health buffs on his W made him, I would say, made him very strong against other tank champions. So if you're playing in a tank, if you need a tank on your team, then I would recommend Zac if you are against another tank. It is very good, or just, not even any tank, just any champion that is known for taking a long time to kill. Zac is very good against. But you gotta be careful, because you don't want to pick something like Zac against Darius. If you pick Zac against Darius, you will leave lane 0 and 30, and that is not really an exaggeration either. Yone, same thing with Yasuo. They're pretty much identical champions. He's okay top lane, but really only play him if you're a mid player autofilled. And Viego, he is B tier. He's not very good. He's much better. He's much better mid and jungle. He kind of just gets killed in top. Gwen, also B tier. She does a absurd amount of damage. She has an absurd amount of healing. She will absolutely annihilate you 1v1. The problem is she is absolutely garbage in a teamfight environment if the AD carry is a problem on the enemy team. And she just sucks completely against ranged champions in general. She has literally her only form of gap closer is Atrax E, but on a lower cooldown. And she doesn't really have any ranged spells that help her get in range other than the slow on her R, which is barely noticeable. So she is very good into melee comps, such that are like tank oriented or fighter oriented. But the problem with Gwen is you can't carry a game if the enemy AD carry or mid mage gets a lead. You will not be able to win. You are only able to fight other fighters. And that wraps up the entire tier list. Again, I'm going to leave it up here. This is basically the whole tier list. All this stuff is garbage. So this right here, take a good look at it, take a screenshot of it. I discussed every champion. You can go rewind if you want to rehear it. And basically that'll be it. If you enjoyed, subscribe and like, and I'll see you next time.